Greetings, grade 7 students. Today we're going to be looking at input devices. What is an input device? Okay, just like the word suggests, you're putting in something. So we're going to be looking at what we put in and overall how the putting in process goes. But first we need to learn some keywords such as data. What is data? Information. What is information? Okay. And we are also going to be looking at the difference between data and information. Alright, bear in mind all the keywords have been placed in red so that you can easily identify all the words you're supposed to know, be able to spell, and be able to answer on the test. Okay. So let's go. What is data? Data is what? All raw facts and figures that a computer processes by following a set of instructions called a program. Alright. Let's break it down. As the DJ say, break it down. Not true. So let's break it down. All the facts. Now, these facts don't necessarily have to be words or letters or numbers, or they can be temperatures, they can be measurements. Anything that you put in the computer is input. So you copy a song to the computer, that is input. You record your voice on the computer, that is input. You you scan a letter into the computer, that is input. Whatever you put into the computer is input. And if it's raw, then it is what? Data. Okay. If it's in a raw form, we call it data. Alright, let's go to the next part now. Processing. It says figures that a computer processes. Processing means you organize the data. You organize it in a way that it can be easily understood. That's all processing means. Making the data into information. Alright, let's continue. Data by itself has no meaning. It can be in the form of what? Letters, ABC, etc. 1, 2, 3, etc. Pictures, sounds, or symbols. It is only when we what? Attach meaning to the data, we get information. Now, in other words, basically what it's saying is that data are all the raw facts and figures that the computer processes by following a set of instructions called a program. That's long and winded. Of course, if you can remember all of that, that's what you're going to write on the test. However, make it easy now. Just say all raw facts and figures that are what? Input into the computer. Simple. Okay. And I gave you examples. Can be letters, numbers, symbols, sounds, measurements, temperature, whatever it is. What is information now? Information is processed data. So once you process the data, after you put the data into the computer and you process it, then it becomes information. So it's different. Data is like the raw meat. Information is the cooked meat. And you are the chef. You are the one who processes the raw meat into cooked meat. Okay. Please don't write raw meat and cooked meat for my test. Okay. Moving on. Let's look at an example now. For example, if you collect the heights of all the students in the class, you have collected data. When a computer arranges, sorts, another word for arranges is sorts, this data in descending. Descending means what? Descending means when the data is arranged from A to Z, and ascending means when it is arranged from Z to A. You can quickly get the following information from this data. The height of the tallest child in the class, the height of the shortest child in the class, how many students are of a particular height in the class. So, by arranging the data, now if we wanted to find out everyone who was between, let's say, 4 and 5 feet tall, it would be easier to spot them because we arrange them in either ascending or descending order. So there's a benefit to processing the data. The processing helps us to do what? To put the data in a form that's more easily understood. This example shows how a computer can process data so that information can be easily extracted. I mean, that's what computers are for. They're there to make life easier, not true? All right, let's look now at input devices. Input devices are used to get data and instructions what? Into the computer for processing. So on the test I ask you, what is an input device? You're going to say what? These are devices used to get data and instructions into the computer for processing. Please notice two elements can be input. You can input, using the input device, you can input data or you can input instructions. Please bear that in mind. Either or either of them can be input into the computer. Okay. So now that we know what data is, what information is, what input is, let's look now more in detail at processing. The processing takes place in the part of the computer called the central processing unit. All right. The central processing unit, also called, which is the abbreviation used, CPU. That's the abbreviation used for central processing unit. I might just ask you on the test, what does CPU mean? And you should be able to tell me central processing unit. Please be mindful of your spelling. Okay. Input is any data which has been entered into the computer. So input is any data which has been entered into the computer unit. Okay. So we now know what is input device, a device used to get data and instruction into the computer. And now we know have a general definition of what is input, any data which has been entered into the computer. Now please, you don't necessarily have to write out every single word for word definition, as long as you have the main elements. Input device used to get data and instructions into the computer for processing. As long as you have the main elements, no problem. Input data which has been entered into the computer. As long as you have the main elements, you'll get it correct. All right, let's look at some input devices now. The first one is the optical mark reader. All right, optical mark reader. Now most of you have taken a multiple choice exam. Most of you did GSAT. Nobody does common entrance anymore. Or you did PEP, whichever one. Either one of them, you would have used a bubble sheet. The bubble sheet has the little circles that you're supposed to shade in, and then you're handling your paper with your name on it. Please do not forget to put your name on your test. Okay. Now, in certain schools, they have what's called an OMR. OMR stands for optical mark reader. The optical mark reader is used to read multiple choice bubble sheets, they're called. So after you finish doing the test on the multiple choice paper bubble sheet, then it is fed into a machine, and the machine looks for the number 2 pencil markings, and the position where it's in tells if it is the answers are correct or right, and you can instantly find out whether the student passed or what grade they got, or however I go. Now please bear in mind that if you do PEP or you do GSAT, then there will be a lot of papers, at least 40,000 papers. Now teachers will not sit down and mark those. They will just run them through a machine, and the machine would automatically determine the grade that you got or the score that you got. And then based on that, now they'll know how to use the information. So they use a what? Optical mark reader. And this is a what? Input device. Please look at it, remember it. You never know. You just might see it on the test. All right, another one. Optical character reader. Optical character reader, aka OCR. And by the way, I might also ask you, what does OCR mean on the test? What does OMR mean on the test? What is the OMR machine used for? Okay, and you should be able to tell me to mark what? Multiple choice papers. All right. Let's look now at what the OCR is used for. OCR stands for Optical Character Reader. And it is used to do what? Scan documents so that text can be changed. Okay. Now what happens is sometimes um, the secretary will type a letter and it's not saved. It wasn't saved on the computer. Or they might get a letter and they want to change something in the letter. So what they will do is they will scan the letter and it puts it in a digital form on the computer so the words can be changed. Now, think of the OCR as a type of scanner. It is a scanner. It's a special type of scanner. It's just a scanner that you can use to input, put in, to input the image of the document on the computer and then change it. Okay. So don't think it's different. It's really the same thing. It's a type of scanner, just a specialized type of scanner. Nowadays, they make more scanners with OCR technology in it. But in first time, originally, you had to buy the scanner separate and the OCR separate. Now they put them together and you can buy both of them together. So good test question. What does OCR mean? What is the optical character reader used for? And you're going to tell me what? Scan documents. So it's a type of scanner that scans documents so that text can be changed. Please note the picture of the scanner. If you see it on the test, you should be able to identify it and write its name. Alright. Alright, let's go now. Money, money, money. Yeah. It's a rich man's world. That's all.
I'm really rich.
Let's look now at magnetic ink character reader. Now, some books don't say reader, some books say recognition. And whichever book you're reading and whichever one you see there, fine with me. On the test, you can write reader, you can write recognition. It's the same thing to me. It doesn't really make a difference. It just depends on which book you read. Alright, so the abbreviation now for magnetic ink character reader is what? MICR. Let me explain the difference between abbreviation and acronym. The abbreviation does not spell a word. So TVJ is an abbreviation. CVM is an abbreviation. BBC is an abbreviation. MICR is an abbreviation. OCR is an abbreviation. They don't spell words. But something like RAM, RAM, random access memory, that spells a word. So that's an acronym. Remember RAM? Did you learn that any at all in primary school? I'm teaching you about it now. RAM, which is the primary memory in the computer, stands for random access memory. Okay. And that's an acronym because it spells a word. Alright. Let's move on. So, the magnetic ink character reader is another input device. What is it used for? It is used to do what? It is used by banks to do what? Read checks. And who would use it? The bank teller. The same way how the secretary would use the OCR. Now, the banks have to deal with a lot of processing, a lot of checks, a lot of people. And it's very time consuming to go about reading all the check numbers and seeing and making sure that everything is there that's supposed to be there. So what they do is they run it through the MICR machine, the reader, and It verifies that number one, this check is from their bank. Number two, the name and so on, the information that is valid when the check was issued to the person who has the checkbook. Um, it records also, it gives information about the check in general. Like some people, they might forge the check, and the MICR will determine if the check is a forged check. And if the check is forged, then you know. Right, but then if the check is legitimate, then you know you're going through. So rather than have people and people make mistakes, they're reading the numbers down here, and then you know they make mistakes and put the wrong number, input the wrong number. While with the machine now, there will be no mistake. It would simply just record. It would simply just record the check that the check has been processed and give the bank teller the information necessary about the check. So once the check has been cashed and it goes into the system, because this part is the MICR is connected to the computer, and once the check is cashed, then anybody else come with another check again, you know, no, you're not going to get through. They're going to question where you get this from and so on and so forth, right? Because there's only checks are unique. All of them have a single number. Not single. They have a unique number. So you can't have two checks with the same number. All checks only have one unique number. And it comes in a little magnetic strip. If you ever look at mommy and daddy check any at all, look at the below, you see a little magnetic strip. It looks like shiny almost. And when they run that part through the machine, the information comes up on the computer and tells them about the check and the person who is issuing it and so on and so forth. Alright, that's MICR. Now let's look at the common one that everybody knows, the mouse. Everybody know the mouse. Everybody know the mouse. Some people call it the rat. Some people call it mice if it's more than one, but it's still mouse in IT. Alright, so the mouse is an input device. And we use it to input what? Commands, instructions, right? While with the others we looked at, you would use it to input data of a different form. This one inputs instructions and commands. So right now I'm using the mouse to move the mouse pointer. See the little arrow there? The little arrow, that's the mouse pointer right there. And I can use the mouse to click, right? Or move something or change something. I can use the mouse to rearrange, right? So the mouse inputs commands, right, or instructions to the computer. So the mouse is another type of input device. All right, next one. Barcode reader. Most people have been to the supermarkets. Most people have been to a store and they see the tellers or the cashiers use the barcode reader. All right. What does the barcode reader do? It scans barcodes on goods. Okay. So if you look at the things you buy, you see these little black lines, some thick, some slim, some skinny. And what it's a code that gives the cashier information about the product. Expiry dates, delivery dates. It records that it's been sold. It is used to keep track of stock. So if you only have 50, say, baked beans or mackerel, tin mackerel, and you set the machine so that when it reaches 10, it gives you the message that stock low, restock, or restock this item. Then the cashier can tell the manager that they're running out of mackerel, or they're running out of baked beans or bully beef, or whatever you're out of water for right now. So therefore, the barcode just stores the information about the stock. And each barcode is different. So therefore, each baked bean would have a different barcode on it. Even though they might look the same to your eyes, it's different when the computer reads it. Because it identifies each individual one. Okay. Who would use the barcode reader? Another good test question. I love it. So who would use the barcode reader? It would be the Cashier. Okay. Please remember that's a good test question. All right. Let's move on now to the joystick. The joystick. What's the joystick used for? The joystick is used to play games. And who would use the joystick? People who are called what? Gamers. Alright, so gamers, some people call them game head. Sometimes them don't go to school and go in a game shop go and play. Yeah man, somebody are getting in trouble. Okay. So the joystick is used to play games. Now of course we have game joysticks and we have more advanced joysticks. We have joysticks that are used to train pilots how to fly planes. And you have joysticks that are used to teach helicopter pilots as well. We have joysticks that are used to operate what are called drones in military settings.
Fire! This is intercepted! Get out of there! Withdraw, realign for another sorting! Negative, I've lost link! I've lost control! Who's in control of the aircraft then? Striker 2-8 headed for our perimeter. I am out of control! Anyone got any other idea?